So let's go ahead and take a look at the skills menu. And so here we're looking at kind of what we have for the skills. This is a new kind of format that they have, so I'm kind of getting used to it as well. But so basically, you've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of starting points, and each of these 5 that I pointed at kind of branches off in certain directions. So you branch off to the left, you're branching up, right, diagonal right, and diagonal left. And then you've got these other ones that don't really branch off at all, because basically they are just in and of themselves. You can level them up however you want. You don't have to level something up before it to be able to get to that. So you'll notice on some of these, they're blacked out on these little areas where they have to go further. They're blacked out right now, and to be able to unlock those, I have to increase the skill before it. So you notice, if you remember, I leveled up my farming to 60. So I've already unlocked the next tier, which is animal lore, after the farming ability. So this tree right here kind of branches off into the farmer slash cooking person slash tailorer. So this is the person that's going to be like tending to the animals, farming and harvesting all of the crops. They can, if they really want to level it up more, they can level it up. They'll also be the leather worker. So any kind of leather or materials that you need, they can go higher up into the cook, and then eventually they could become a tailor if they wanted to. And one of the things you might notice as I'm clicking on these different skills, each of these skills has a tier set. So at certain levels, you unlock new things from 0, 30, 60, 90, and 100. So, I already leveled up my farming to 60, so I can do everything from 60 and below. I can now plant apple and mulberry trees. I can now start sowing and harvesting crops. And then general speed of agricultural works, and it allows me to till the land. Okay, so, and if I wanted to, I could level up further to 90. That means I could start fertilizing soil and using a plow. And then again, 100 will give me a permanent 5 bonus to luck during work when I'm farming. So that'll kind of help speed up things if I get lucky when I'm farming. In order to be able to unlock the tier after, the next tier, the tier before it, so my farming skill, has to be at least 30. Now I'm at 60, so obviously I unlock the next tier. Now the catch here is that if the tier before is at 30, the tier after that can only be leveled up to the highest of 29.99, so just before 30, but it can't go any higher after that. The only way I can make it go higher than 29.99 is if I get the tier before it to be 60. So 60 is kind of an important number, especially if you want to advance into your tree line that you're going. Now, if you don't want to advance above 29.99, then you don't have to worry about that. But if I wanted to, say, become a tailor, then basically what I would, at the very least, need to do is have farming, animal lore, procreation, cooking, all at 60, so that I therefore could have tailoring up to 60 or higher if I wanted to get up to 100. And again, don't forget, I mentioned earlier, you have a skill cap. On this server, it is set at 600. So if you think about it, I already have 120 points kind of used up for the 60 here from farming, and then from some of the other abilities that already have points in them. I can't remember what they are right now. Okay, nature's lores and forestry. So there's 60 there, and then the 60 from farming. So that makes up my 120. So again, you kind of have to, you want to have kind of a set idea of where it is you want to go eventually, so that you can plan out the different things you're going to do. And again, you'll notice, just like we had back on the stats, you'll notice these up arrows on everything. So I can already start setting these up arrows if I wanted to. I can set them down so that I will lose points in that. I can lock it so that it won't go anywhere, or I can keep it going up. So if there's certain things that you just know you don't want to waste any of your points into, you can lock those. To me, I recommend just leaving everything up until you become skill capped, so you're at 600, and then you can start making the decision of moving things down. So maybe I don't want to, maybe I leveled up logging because I needed to chop down some trees to level other things up, but now I don't want to anymore, so I could move this arrow down, and that way I can have it increase anything that has an up arrow that I'm doing. So that kind of gives you an idea about the skills. I went through the, that was the farmer one. This tier here, the terraforming, materials provision, construction, masonry, architecture, that's kind of your builder of your village or of your group that you're going to have. The nature's lore You've got gathering, and then herbalism, healing, alchemy. So that's going to be kind of like your gatherer, herbalist, potion, healer person for your village. Forestry, logging, carpentry, bowcraft, warfare, engineering. So this is kind of your woodworker, anything that needed for wood. And then eventually, if they want to, will be your warfare engineering, which is pretty cool because they'll be able to start making catapults, siege weaponry, so that when you want to start sieging castles, you probably want to have one of your players go that route. And then the last route is you've got prospecting, mining, smelting, forging, and armor smithing. So this is going to be kind of your smither. And they'll be able to specialize in all sorts of different things. And again, don't forget, each one of these skills I'm clicking at has tiers to it. So you look at these tiers, and that'll kind of give you an idea of, okay, maybe I only want to go 90 in forging because I'm not worried about what the 100 tier is giving me, or maybe you only want to go 60. Again, it's going to be up to you, and that's how you can kind of modify and change the way that you're playing the game. And also, one of the great things about this game is this sense of community that is driven behind this skill cap and these different trees that you can branch out to in the skill menu. This really is going to be a game that you're going to want to play with other people. Now, you can kind of forge out on your own to some level degree, but you're also going to need to rely on other people for trade if you want to kind of just go out on your own. But almost, again, the realistic aspect of this game is this idea of like, well, what has civilization shown us? It's shown us that we flourish better when we're working together in a community as a team. So it is in your to me, it's better in your better interest to form some kind of a guild and then kind of establish roles throughout the guild that everyone's going to kind of be responsible for. And again, if you only have maybe 5 people in this guild, well then, if those 5, for example, if you need some tools to be made for you and your smither is not on, well, maybe you don't know how to make tools because you haven't gone up that tree. Well, now you're kind of, stuck here, not being able to make these better tools because your smither's not on. So it's kind of one of these things where it's a strength in numbers kind of idea. And that to me, it gives me this idea of just a more invested kind of feel of everything I'm doing in this game. When there are big projects to be done, like maybe you want to build a castle or at some point in time, there's the amount of resources needed to build these things is insane. So it takes a village to put this together, and again, I really enjoy that idea of it. It's one of the things that kind of really captivated me and held me in. Crafting in this game is one of the most in-depth crafting that I've ever played, and I kind of compare it a little bit to somewhat of like Dark Age of Camelot, where there's kind of random occurrences of things that can happen. As far as like, if I want to build something, there's a lot of kind of things that go into it to make sure that this item I'm about to build will be of the highest quality. So again, there's just so much in this game. I can kind of go off into tangents, and so I'm sorry for that, but hopefully you're getting some good info. Now, let's just kind of go back to, I guess, a little bit of some of the basic ideas of what's happening in this game. So, we're in free look mode, we're looking around. One of the key buttons that you're going to be using a lot is the right button. Now, if I click and hold down the right button, you can kind of get an idea of where I'm looking at with this right button, and I see this little blue square. This kind of helps me identify exactly what it is that I am looking at. So I'm holding the button right now, and I know I'm looking at this tree. And then I can also look at, okay, I'm looking at that tile in particular. I'm looking at this tile in particular. And so if I let go of that right click button on this tile, a bunch of options are going to appear. So these are all the things I can do on this ground piece. I could prospect for copper if I'm trying to find ore. I could create a camp if I'm under forestry. I could gather plant fiber or search for something edible to eat. So on and so forth. Another key button here that you're going to want to become familiar with when you're in this part of the menu is if you're going to be doing something quite a bit, like to prospect for ore, it might take me quite a bit of time, so I'm going to need to do that ability many times. Well, I can set it up here to the default. So it already is in my default key, but let's say I wanted to change it. Let's say I wanted to gather plant fiber many, many times in a row. I can now right-click that, and now notice it's showing up back at my default. So what that means now is I could click that, and now I'm going to go ahead and gather plant fiber. And when I'm done, I can go ahead and just left click the ground that I'm looking at, and it'll go ahead and say, look, gather plant fiber again. I don't have to go back to right clicking this ground piece. I can just now left click continuously and look for wild plant fiber. Now maybe you should be noticing over here in the top left corner the messages that are appearing. So I mentioned earlier, how do I level up these skills? For example, how am I leveling up my nature's lore, which is going to be this task right here. This task right here. I need to perform tasks under nature's lore, and so I'm looking for wild plant fiber, and that's one of those things. And so you can see that I'm slowly increasing it. I just increased it by 1. My willpower went up. So if I do it again and we see those messages, you can see that the abilities attached to me gathering plant fiber are nature's lore, so that went up slightly, and willpower. My willpower is increasing right now. Very, very low. I mean, 0.004599. So you can see that it's going to take me quite a bit of time to level up willpower doing this. Also, you'll notice in my inventory, I'm getting this plant fiber showing up now. One thing too that might strike you is, especially it hit me, was why aren't these stacked up? And that's because every item in this game has a quality level to it. This plant fiber I'm hovering over right now, you can see has a quality of 2. This plant fiber here, or these 2 plant fibers, have a quality of 10. So, depending on if I'm going to use this plant fiber to make items, I want to have higher quality, because if I use higher quality plant fiber to make an item, it'll make that item that I'm about to make higher quality in itself. So again, you can get a feel at the level of crafting that's happening here, and the amount of thought and just the certain things that you're going to need to be thinking of. Okay, so there's one aspect. If I look at a tree and I hover over it, now you can see it opening. Again, here's the default already is that get sprout, but I've got 2 other options. I've got forestry and I've got logging, and each of these has different things.